How did a Siberian peasant become the most influential man in the Russian Empire? This is the enigma of Grigori Rasputin, a man whose life is shrouded in mystery and myth. Born into poverty in the harsh landscapes of Siberia, Rasputin's journey to the heart of the Russian court is nothing short of extraordinary. This beguiling figure was known for his hypnotic eyes, wild hair, and an uncanny ability to heal. His mystic aura and prophetic visions soon caught the attention of the Russian royal family. The Romanovs, particularly Tsarina Alexandra, found solace and guidance in Rasputin's words during their most desperate times, especially when it involved the health of their hemophiliac son, Alexei. His influence over the Russian royal family was unprecedented, and it brought him both reverence and revulsion. From a humble peasant to a royal confidant, Rasputin's rise to power is a tale of charisma, faith, and intrigue. Let's dive into the intriguing life of Rasputin, the Mad Monk. Born into poverty in 1869 Siberia, Rasputin's life took a dramatic turn when he joined a sect of wandering mystics. His early years, shrouded in uncertainty, were spent in the harsh Siberian wilderness, far removed from the grandeur of the imperial court he would later influence. In his youth, Rasputin was known more for his wild behavior than any spiritual inclination. But a transformative experience at the Verkhoturya monastery set him on the path of religious devotion. He began to travel, spending months, sometimes years, away from home. His journeys took him across Russia and as far as Greece and the Middle East. During these travels, Rasputin developed a reputation for his strange, often unsettling religious practices. Many who encountered him were taken aback by his intense, penetrating gaze. Yet, others were drawn to his spiritual charisma, his claims of visions, and the mysterious aura that surrounded him. In 1905, Rasputin arrived in St. Petersburg, the heart of Russian power. His rustic appearance, with his long, unkempt hair, bushy beard, and simple peasant clothes, stood in stark contrast to the refined elegance of the city's aristocracy. Yet, this Siberian mystic, with his peculiar manners and uncanny charm, began to attract a following. His reputation as a spiritual healer and prophet grew, fed by accounts of miraculous healings and prophecies that seemed to come true. It wasn't long before the stories of this intriguing mystic reached the ears of the Romanov family. It was through the Romanovs' hemophiliac son Alexei that Rasputin first earned the family's trust. In a world where medicine was still rudimentary, the Tsarina Alexandra was desperate for a miracle to save her ailing son. As the story goes, Rasputin, with his reputed healing powers, was able to stop one of Alexei's life-threatening bleeding episodes. From that moment, Rasputin's place within the Romanov family was cemented. He became a regular fixture at the court, a strange sight among the opulence and ornate grandeur, with his unkempt hair, peasant clothes, and intense, penetrating gaze. His influence wasn't just confined to the sick room of the young prince. The Tsarina Alexandra was particularly taken by Rasputin. She saw in him not just a healer, but a spiritual guide, a prophet. His words held sway over her, and through her, over the Tsar Nicholas II himself. Nicholas, though initially skeptical of Rasputin, couldn't deny the apparent miracles he performed on his son. And so, this Siberian peasant, this mad monk, found himself with unprecedented influence over the affairs of the Russian Empire. But at court, not everyone was as taken with Rasputin as the Romanovs were. His unorthodox behavior, his blatant disregard for court etiquette, and his rumored immoralities did not endear him to the Russian nobility. They saw him as a charlatan, a manipulator, exploiting the royal family's desperation for his own gain. And so, the stage was set. Rasputin, the unlikely confidant and spiritual advisor to the Tsar and Tsarina, had made his mark. But with his rise to power came scrutiny, suspicion, and ultimately animosity. The eccentric mystic, who had once been an object of fascination, was now seen as a threat to the very fabric of the Russian monarchy. Rasputin's influence was not without controversy, and he soon attracted a number of powerful enemies. The Mad Monk's ties with the Romanovs had set him on a collision course with those who perceived him as a menace to the empire, setting the stage for his eventual and dramatic downfall. On the night of December 16, 1916, a group of conservative nobles decided to end Rasputin's influence once and for all. They saw him as a dangerous charlatan whose scandalous behavior and unchecked influence over the Romanovs threatened the very fabric of the Russian Empire. The plot to assassinate Rasputin was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but the culmination of multiple failed attempts on his life. The Mad Monk's seemingly invincible nature only fueled the fire of his legend. There were tales of poisonings shrugged off, gunshots that left no lasting damage, and beatings that couldn't break him. Rasputin's resilience was as infamous as his influence, and it left his enemies desperate. One can only imagine the tense atmosphere on that fateful December night when a group led by Prince Felix Yusupov invited Rasputin to a late-night gathering in a basement. The unsuspecting Rasputin was first offered cakes and wine laced with cyanide. But to the conspirators' disbelief, the poison seemed to have no effect. Frustrated and panicked, Yusupov pulled out a revolver and shot Rasputin at close range. Yet even then, the Mad Monk reportedly rose from the floor, fighting back, forcing the conspirators to shoot him again and again. Finally, believing they had killed him, they wrapped his body in a curtain and dumped it into the icy waters of the Malaya Nevka River. But even in death, Rasputin didn't go quietly. When his body was found, one of his arms was positioned as though he had tried to claw his way out of the ice. Rasputin's death marked the end of one of the most intriguing figures in Russian history. His life, filled with scandal, mysticism, and an uncanny ability to survive, was as complex and controversial as the man himself. His downfall, like everything else about him, was extraordinary, and it left a mark that would resonate through the corridors of history long after the Romanovs' reign came to an end. In the mystery-shrouded final years of the Russian Empire, Rasputin had risen from obscurity to the heights of power. His influence over the Romanov family was unprecedented, and his peculiar ways left an indelible mark on the imperial court. He was a constant source of controversy and speculation, a symbol of the excesses and corruptions of the Russian monarchy. His death marked the beginning of the end for the Romanov dynasty, and soon after, the entire Russian Empire. Rasputin's legacy is as enigmatic as his life. Some see him as a holy man, a mystic with genuine healing powers. Others view him as a manipulative charlatan who exploited a vulnerable family for his own gain. Regardless of interpretation, his story continues to captivate us, prompting us to question the nature of power, faith, and the human condition. The story of Rasputin, the Mad Monk, remains one of the most intriguing chapters in the history of Imperial Russia.